Welcome back to Colster's Classroom. Thanks for joining me. It's the end of the quarter. Actually, at this point, it's the end of the semester for us, just closing in on winter break. Teacher is tired. Students are very tired. We need to inject some energy and enthusiasm into the classroom. And we're going to use games to do that. Review is very, very important, even in my class. At the end of the year, the students are going to take an exam for college credit. And that exam is cumulative. The students have to be able to recall information from the entire year. So every quarter I like to review information to keep it fresh in the students' minds. The other reason it's important is at this point of the year, it's time to inject some energy and fun back into the classroom so that the students stay with you. You don't want to mentally get them to check out. So I'm going to talk about two different games that I've watched on TV and then adapted for my classroom. And you're welcome to use them as well. I think you'll find that they're fun. They get the students re-energized. And again, it should inject some energy into your classroom. So here we go. Let me talk about the two games I play with them. We're going to call the first game the review game. When the students walk into the classroom, they're going to see their initials on the board. You're going to put every student's initials on the board basically in the same order as their assigned seats. That way, when you're calling a student, you can put the tally marks right next to their name very efficiently. So each student goes to their seat, remains in their seat, and you'll call on the students one by one. You'll ask them review questions. If the student gets the question you asked them correct, you'll put a tally mark next to their name. If they missed a question, they do not earn a tally mark, but they don't lose a tally mark. So with student one in seat one, you call on student one, they get the question correct, and you put a tally mark next to his or her name. You call on student number two with your second question. Student number two misses the question, and several hands go up with the correct answer. And you call on the first student who has their hand up. That student gets it correct, you'll put a tally mark next to that person's name. Then you go to seat number three, and their initials should be the third one on the board. And you call on them for a question. They say, pass, I don't know the answer. Several hands go up. One of the hands you call on gets the question incorrect. That person loses a point of their tally marks. And if they don't have any points at that point, they go to -1. And that's basically how you do the game. And at -3, I cut a student off and I say, you know what? Sorry, student, you've had too many, and we need to cut you off right now. So you call the students in order, and the first student to get to 10 points earns extra credit. Typically, I'll give out the top 5 students will get extra credit. I'll give out 25 points extra credit to each student. You can adapt it however you want, obviously, and go that route. Now the first student to finish with 10 points also becomes my first player for the second game I'm going to talk to you about, which is the game I hold on another day. Like yesterday, I did this review game with the students, and the students who won it will end up being the first student to go for each class period on Tuesday's game, where we'll play one versus the class. So in review of what we just talked about, you'll call on students. If they get the questions correct, you give them a point. If it's their question and they miss it, they do not lose a point. If students are trying to steal those points from students who missed a question, they lose a point if they don't get it correctly, but they earn a point if they do. First five students to get to 10 points, each earn extra credit, and the first one to earn 10 points becomes your first player for one versus the class, which is the game you play at another date. One versus the class. It's intense, it's fun, it brings a lot of enthusiasm and energy into the classroom. Your students will absolutely love it. We select one student to go up in front of the class. Typically, I'll put a stool up there, and I have a projector screen with a video projector projecting the questions onto the screen. The student will answer these multiple choice questions until that student misses a question, at which case they lose all of their extra credit. Now here's how it works. That student in front of the class gets 3 lifelines: 50-50, ask a friend, ask the class. You're going to use multiple choice questions. My multiple choice questions typically have 4 answers. On a 50-50, I'm going to eliminate the 2 most obvious choices. On Ask a Friend, they can ask one of their friends, or they can ask the class what their answers are. Once the student in front of the class uses a lifeline, they no longer get that lifeline. It's gone. Typically, when a student runs out of lifelines, they're really risking the extra credit they've earned. So they accumulate extra credit for each student that they knock out. Let's say in round 1, I ask them a question and 5 students miss it. I will give 5 points extra credit to the person in front of the class, and I will ask them, do you wish to continue? Here are your lifelines. These are the lifelines you have left. Typically, if they have 2 or 3 lifelines, they'll be like, yeah, I want to continue. I'll ask them a second question. For each student they knock out for that question, I'll give them double points. Let's say they knock out 3 more, I'll double it up and say 6. You now have 11 points. Do you wish to continue? You have 3 lifelines left. Students will typically be like, yeah, I want to continue. For the third question, they don't knock anybody out, so no points are awarded. Now, the grand prize for this is typically a 9 weeks exam exemption. My thought process on this is that if a student can defeat the entire class, typically my classes are about 35 students, if they can beat 34 other students in a review game, they deserve an exemption from the 9 weeks exam anyhow. So they've demonstrated excellence. That's what A means, excellence. So I will give them a 100 for their 9 weeks exam. This makes the stakes worth playing for. Your students, when you tell them about this game and what the prize is, they will study and they will review for your test. And isn't that what we're going for here? We want them to review. So let's say on question 4, they get 5 people out. At this point, the stakes are getting pretty high. I might triple the points, so I'll give them another 15. We're now at 26 points extra credit. Do you wish to continue? The student has 3 lifelines. All right, question number 5. It's a hard question. They use 2 of their lifelines at this point. They use their 50-50 and they use their Ask Their Friend. And at this point, they can still walk away with 26 points extra credit, or they can continue. So I think you get the gist of it. Now, for the students who are still competing, at this point we've knocked out, what, 11 students? So there are still a fair number of students competing. Typically the student will continue. If they don't, they can walk away with their extra credit, and you decide amongst the students who are remaining in the game who's going to go up in front of the class. And again, what I'm going to do on Tuesday when we do this game, or play this game, I'm going to use my tally sheet from Thursday's game where we did the review game to figure out who the next student up is, and basically go off of that. And you can do this every 9 weeks to review for your exams this way. This is a great way to review. So I will continue explaining the game a little bit on the next slide, and we'll go from there. So we get to question number 6. There's still roughly, let's call it 15 students remaining. On question number 6, if the student up in front of the class misses it, I will take the extra credit points he or she has accumulated, divide them up, and give them to the remaining players who are still in the game. And of those remaining players, I will select one of them to go up in front of the class. I've done it 2 ways. One, I have done it using the tally sheet from the game we talked about previously, the review game, or sometimes I'll have them play rock, paper, scissors. I call it paper, scissors, rock, which down here in Florida always freaks them out. But, and then I'll have them play rock, paper, scissors until we have a winner and put that person in front of the class. I think if you do this, you'll have a lot of fun. It will inject energy into the class. Their competitive juices get flowing, and they will review. You'll find, especially after you do this the first 9 weeks, that the second 9 weeks, they'll remember how much fun it was, and the opportunity to earn an exemption from the 9 weeks exam is motivation for them to study. So hope you enjoy these. If you have any questions about either of these games, drop a question in the comments below. I hope I've done a good job explaining it for you, but if you have to make some adaptations to it, feel free. Enjoy. Your kids are going to love it. Colster out.